Let's talk about transforming how you study. We're going to ditch those frustrating all-night cram sessions and replace them with a smarter, science-backed system for learning that actually sticks. Oh yeah, we've all been there. You highlight, you reread, you spend an entire night with your textbook, feeling super productive, right? But then you sit down to take the test, and your mind just goes blank. It's an incredibly common frustration, but here's the thing. It's not a personal failure, it's a strategy failure. And it all comes down to this key difference. On the left, you've got passive learning, and this is the default for most of us. It feels easy, but it creates something called an illusion of fluency, where you mistake recognizing the material for actually knowing it. On the right, that's active learning. And yeah, it's harder, for sure, but that struggle, that's exactly what builds strong, lasting knowledge. So, how do we get active? Well, our first technique is all about retrieval practice. Instead of focusing so much on putting information in your brain, the real secret is to practice pulling it out. Let me put it this way. Every single time you force yourself to remember something without looking at your notes, you're not just checking your memory, you are fundamentally strengthening it. Seriously, think of it as a workout for your brain. This quote just gets right to the heart of it. That moment of strain when you're searching for an answer, that isn't failure, that is the work. That's the precise moment the connections in your brain are getting stronger. It's the mental equivalent of lifting a weight, right? The resistance is what builds the muscle. This really sets up two competing ideas. On one side, you have the illusion of fluency. It's comfortable, but the knowledge is weak. On the other side is what scientists call desirable difficulty. It feels tough, yeah, but that effort is exactly what forges durable, flexible knowledge you can actually use when it counts. So how do you actually do this? Well, first, use flashcards, but do them the right way. Say the answer out loud before you flip it over. Or try the brain dump. After a lesson, just open a blank page and write down everything you can possibly remember. Even better, try to teach the concept to a friend. I mean, if you can explain it simply, you truly know it. And finally, start treating practice tests not as an assessment, but as a primary study tool. But listen, pulling information out is only half the battle. If you keep retrieving the wrong answer over and over, you're just practicing a mistake. And that's why our second technique is so critical. You have to close the feedback loop. Just think of the feedback loop as your personal error correction system. It's that crucial moment where you compare what you thought you knew with what's actually correct. This is where you stop guessing and start doing some really targeted learning. And this is the huge danger of skipping this step. Practicing without feedback is basically like shooting arrows in the dark. You might be getting better, or you might just be getting really good at missing the target. Feedback turns on the lights and shows you exactly where to aim your efforts next time. This is the question you should be asking yourself constantly. It shifts your whole mindset from, did I remember it? To, okay, what were the gaps in my memory? It's a subtle but really powerful change that focuses you on improvement, not just on performance. The methods for this are super straightforward. When you use a flashcard, the feedback is just flipping it over. When you get a quiz back, don't just look at the grade. Analyze every single wrong answer. After your brain dump, take out your notes and use a different colored pen to fill in what you missed. That new color becomes a visual map of your knowledge gaps. All right, so you've retrieved information and you've corrected your mistakes. The final step to true mastery is to make that knowledge automatic. And this is where overlearning comes in. Now, overlearning might sound a little inefficient, right? Like, why practice something you already know? But the goal here isn't just about accuracy, it's about automaticity. You're practicing until you literally can't get it wrong, and until it requires almost zero conscious effort. Here's a great way to think about it. Your working memory is kind of like a computer's RAM. If it's bogged down with basic calculations, you can't run complex programs. By overlearning the fundamentals, you make them so automatic they barely use any of that RAM. This frees up your brain to tackle much bigger, more interesting problems. And this concept applies absolutely everywhere. A pianist doesn't just learn scales, they overlearn them so they can focus on musicality. A speaker doesn't just memorize a talk, they overlearn it so they can actually connect with the audience. By making the basics effortless, you build a solid foundation for true mastery. Okay, so we have these three powerful techniques: retrieval, feedback, and overlearning. But here's the thing, they aren't separate tricks. They form a single, powerful, cyclical workflow for smart learning. Let's see how it all fits together. Let's walk through this cycle. 1. You learn a new concept, say photosynthesis. 2. You retrieve it by trying to draw the whole process from memory. 3. You get feedback by comparing your drawing to the source material and you spot what you missed. 4. You refine that knowledge, and then you repeat the retrieval process. And finally, 5. You overlearn it by practicing again a few days later, cementing it until it's totally automatic. The real takeaway here is this. These aren't just theories. They are practical tools you can start using right now. So think about it. A new language, a coding skill, a complex topic for class. What will you choose to master with this new workflow? The change starts with your very next study session.